Alright, this is going to be a part 2 to the cutout character animation tutorial. The part 1 has you taking a character and turning them into a puppet using a hierarchical base, so that you have your master control that moves the whole puppet around, and has the hierarchy so that you can move parts of the body like the upper arm and the lower arms. So if you haven't seen that tutorial, you need to watch that first so that you can get to this part. Now this part, in part 2, I'm going to take this concept and I'm going to show you how to do what's called nesting, to nest a composition that actually has individual eye shapes and mouth shapes in it. This is going to be an eye shape one, so I'm going to have a composition that allows me to select a frame in a composition, frame number 2, frame number 4, frame number 6, and I can use that to choose the different eye shapes that I want. So I can actually change the expressions of my character, and I'm going to do this by setting up a composition with just my eyes in it, and each layer is only going to last a single frame long, and each image will take up the space of one frame. So I'm going to explain to you how this can be done very easily in this tutorial. And you'll do the same thing for the mouth shapes. So essentially you're going to have a composition that's going to contain your options for eyes, and a composition that's going to contain your options for mouths, and then you're going to be able to put that in place. So for example, instead of having just a single image here like I have, I'm going to have a composition where I can set keyframes on, I'll turn the motion blur off here. I can put keyframes on my character. So for example, here's the composition. Here are the keyframes that actually select a single frame value. So right now my standard eye shape is 0. So at frame 1, or at frame 0, I have in my composition, when I'm at frame 0, I get these eyes. When I'm at frame 2, I get the angry eyes. When I'm at frame 4, I get the sad eyes. So I can actually keyframe that here in my timeline specifically and hold that frame. So I'm going to actually hold that, so there's no interpolation, there's no changes, it's just going to be snapping. So the grid for that will look like this. It's on and off, it's on and off, on and off, on and off. So it's choosing the frame. It's either going to be on or off. So it's at frame 0 for a specific amount of time, then it snaps up to frame 6 for a specific amount of time, then it goes back to frame 0, then it goes back up to frame 6, then it goes down to frame 3. And all of those are associated with eye shapes. So what you end up with is a little animation where we can watch the character, we can watch him blink. Here, let me get this. You can see him blink, and he can move around, and he can change expressions. Alright, so that's what we're going for. So this is what we have to do. First of all, I'll pretend like I haven't done it already so that you can we'll start from scratch. So remember, you have all of your assets here, and all your assets are in your folder. So I have my eyes, my different eyes. And I don't need to make every composition huge. So my eyes, they don't need to be in great big composition size. So I'm going to make them actually, I'm going to make those smaller, and I used a small 50 by 50 composition size. So here I'm going to go into composition. I'm going to do a new composition. I'm going to name this Eyes Animated, and I'm going to have a duration of 10 frames, and the size is going to be 50 pixels by 50 pixels. So here I get my composition here. Now I'm going to show you some tricks to actually help you very easily do this, so it's a lot faster. In my eyes folder, I'm going to grab all of my eyes and I'm going to drag them down to my timeline. Okay. I only need those eyes to last a single frame long, one frame in time, because I'm only going to use them as a single image. Essentially, it's like holding an image. So all I need to do then is just move my timeline up one frame. Notice that I have this stretched out pretty good. These are only 10 frames here. And I'm going to trim every single layer here all at once because I only want them to be one frame long. So the shortcut for doing that, instead of going into each one and going here and trimming them, like I could do this and trim them, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do it over and over and over again. I'm going to show you a shortcut for that. I'm going to select all of them and simply hit my left bracket, my Alt right bracket, and when I do that, it trims all of them simultaneously. So essentially these just last a frame. Okay, they don't exactly, they are here. So I'm going to scale them all down to 30% so it matches all of my other images, and then they're all kind of gobbledygooked up right there. So if I was to turn them off and on one at a time, I would see I have angry eyes, I have eyes blinking, I have single blink, I have my main eyes, I should move that over a little bit, my main eyes, and I have sad eyes there. Now I'm going to put them in order from top to bottom. I want my main eyes to be on top, so I want those to be on top. I want my angry eyes next. I want my sad eyes after angry eyes, and then I want my eyes, my double blink eyes, and a single blink at the end. Now they're all going to be set up to be one frame long. Okay, so I want this to last one frame, so I actually want this to be one frame long like this. Alright, so now let me show you another trick. So let's try this. So you're saying, so here they are, they all exist at this single. See, what I want to make sure they do is they actually last the entire length. So I'm going to do this. Let's see what we get. We'll set this up and we'll do this. So here we go. So at frame 1 I have my images, but at frame 2 they disappear. Okay, so from 0 to 1 they exist, but from 1 to 2 they don't. Here's what we're going to do. I want to separate these individually, so I just want to offset them. Now I don't have that many, so I could simply do this real easy, but I'm going to show you a shortcut. It's something that might come in handy later on. You select all your layers, and if I right click on it, I can go down to my keyframe assistant and I can go to what's called sequence layers. I'm going to say sequence layers, and it's going to ask me, do I want to overlap them? And no, I do not. Watch what happens. Boom. When I sequence them, I get snap, 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 then that's it. So I have this right here. So if everything works properly, it should just scroll through those images one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So what I've done is that I have a composition now called Eyes Animated, and I have them in order. So I'm going to write down what order my eyes are, because that's real important to do, because you're going to want to keep track of this. Okay? So I have at frame 0 my main eyes. So I'm writing that down at frame so those are my main eyes. At frame 2, when frame 2 pops up, I have angry eyes. So at 2 I have angry eyes. At frame 4 I have sad eyes. At frame 6 I have my double blink. And at frame 8 I have a single blink. And your eyes could be anything that you want them to be, but this is just what I have for this purpose, okay? So now I'm going to go back to my Johnny P. Brain. I'm going to go back to my Johnny P. Brain puppet here. And I want to bring in my animated eyes layer. So I have then my composition. I'm going to throw that in my compositions folder. So I have my animated eyes animated. I'm going to bring that down to my layer here. It has to be on top of the head. I'm going to move it into place. And I want that to be parented to the head. So just like we've done before, I need to parent that to the head layer, the head image. So now when the head moves, all right, there we go. Okay. Now, my composition isn't very long. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to I'll have to stretch that out a little bit, but I won't worry about that just yet. Okay. So that's all I need for now. One of the things that I want to do though is this. I want to take this layer and I have to go to it and go right click and go to what's called time, and this is where I have to enable what's called time remapping. And when I do that, it sets up some keys here. I'm going to get a little closer here. So this is what time remapping does. Time remapping allows me to choose a frame in a composition, and I can actually control how I see the frames. So by default it's going to play back from frame 0 to however many frames you have, one frame at a time. However, I could say play back frame 1 to 100 in 50 frames, so I could actually get speed. And so what this is going to do is actually it's just going to play through from beginning to end my frames, and you can see that as I scrub through this layer, it is changing the eye shapes, because it's basically just playing every frame in that composition. But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take this idea of these different frames. So if I click on this, it should be at frame 0, and if I click on this, it should be at frame 10. I'm going to say OK. So right now I'm at frame 0, and what I want to try to do is just to demonstrate to you what this is doing. So hopefully you'll understand this. I'm saying, look at right now when at frame, well, think about it as a range right now. So I'm going to say I'm keyframing frame 0, and I want frame 0 to be on the screen for, let's say, 30 frames. So here's a second of animation. Okay. So here's a second of animation. At a second of animation, I want to go to my, I'll do a blink, okay? I'll do a double blink, and that's frame 6. And so what I'm going to need to do is I want to be able to choose where I want this to go. So I'm going to say here, frame 0, and I'm going to do what's called a hold frame. So here I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do what's called toggle hold keyframes. And what that does is that essentially makes the frame either on or off. It's a step. If I go here and I'm going to right click, I want to change the value to 6. I want to toggle hold the keyframe, and I want this to go to frame 6 if I can get it here. There. 6 is a blink. So what this is going to do is it's going to hold my iframe until it gets here, and then it's going to snap to a blink. And then I'm going to change this back to 0. And then over a certain amount of frames, like say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, it's going to go back to 0. Now this is going to, I want this to also be a hold, so I'm going to say toggle hold, and it's going to hold. So if I do this right, I'm going to take this arm and my right arm up animation. I don't really actually want it to rotate, so I'm going to take that off. So if I play through there we go. Did you see him blink? He's going to play, he's going to hit that, and he's going to blink. So there he goes, he blinks. And if I wanted him to hold this longer, say I could move this, and he could close his eyes a little bit longer. There you go. So I can adjust in when he does his blink. Okay, and then from this point on, I can then move forward. And if I wanted another blink sequence, I could take these two, I could copy them, Control C, and then hit Control V, and it'll paste them wherever I have my playhead. Okay, so right now I want to kind of go to here, and I can watch this. So I should get like a couple blinks. There's a blink, there's another blink. I don't like where that's placed, so I'm going to move that here. And I'm going to move it to, I might move it down to here someplace. Extend my composition. There we go. There we go. Alright. So now if I wanted to go to a different expression, so maybe instead of blinking to a open, I'm going to use this to snap perfectly here. I could choose a different one. Maybe I'm going to have him blink to a sad face, and his sad was on frame 4. Oh, it's supposed to be sad on frame, this one to frame 3. There we go. So there, I've chosen my next eye. Let's see if it goes. There we go. Now he's sad, or he's doing something. Here we go. All right. So I'm choosing the frames that I want, and I'm making sure that I'm getting the frame that I want here. And I'll just go along and I will choose those values as oops. Notice that if I change that, I gotta go back and change this back to toggle. But now I've got an extra. I'm gonna get rid of that. So I'll just keep adjusting this until I get what I like here. There we go. Alright. Okay, so that's the eyes. So I've got my eyes animated. I'm able to then choose the eye value that I want, and I will then continue to animate that however I feel for that particular scene. So there we go. He's blinking, he blinks again, he goes sad, and then he goes back to his regular eyes. I like to put a blink as a transition, so I'd blink to a new emotion, then blink out of that emotion. So I'd take this blink here, copy it, and then just before this I'd put another blink in there, because blinks are a nice way to change your eye expressions. There we go. See, it looks a lot better when you do that. Alright, in the next video I'm going to do the mouth. So take some time to set up your character here. In the next video I'm going to do the same thing for my mouth character. I'm sorry, the mouth for my character.